Good afternoon. Welcome to Conversations with Coach Lloyd. I'm Coach Lloyd, 25-time Ironman, and the first African-American to finish an Ironman on all 6 continents, plus Kona. I figured it would be a great idea to just have conversations with various athletes and fitness professionals that I've met over the years who could just kind of give some good insight as to how they got started, give you some tips as a new athlete or an experienced athlete that you might find actually beneficial. So today we're going to start off with my first guest. My first guest is Candice Gibson. She is a NASM Certified Personal Trainer and endurance athlete, originally from New York. She's currently based in Washington, D.C. Candice is a 5-time Ironman Finisher and obstacle course enthusiast, an avid cyclist, and a lover of all things fitness. She loves seeing clients achieve their goals and embrace new lifestyles. She believes that an active life is the basis of a healthy life. After joining corporate America in late 2000s, Candice noticed that her new sedentary lifestyle had numerous negative side effects, including weight gain and lack of energy. She realized that she was going to have to get motivated and creative to counteract being stuck at a desk for upwards of 12 hours each day. What initially started as a quest to incorporate 30 minutes of physical activity each day has transformed her life and now become a quest to help others develop the tools and habits to discover their best selves so that they can live their best lives. Pure Performance Fitness, LLC, the fitness company Candice founded, is dedicated to changing lives through activity and healthy living. Offering virtual training and customized training plans, Pure Performance helps introduce fitness and healthy eating to people trying to change their lives for the better and help those already fit take it to the next level. Please welcome my guest, Candice Gibson.
Hi, Lloyd.
Hey, Candice. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing well. So good to see you.
Good to see you too.
That is a impressive bio. I've known you for a number of years. So as I told everyone at the beginning, I just want to kind of jump into what got you into fitness as an athlete and then as a coach, and just to kind of hear a little bit more of your inspiring story. So first up, tell me about how you got started in endurance sports.
Okay, so when I first moved to the DMV, I think this is now almost 17 years ago. I used to inline skate when I was back in New York, and so when I moved down here, I thought I was gonna do some inline skating, and I was dating a guy, and he said, "Let's go out. I'll ride my bike, and you can skate." And so 12 miles later, I tapped out. I sat down on a bench on the Mount Vernon Trail. I think I had a blister the size of my hand on my foot. And I said, "Just go get the car and come and get me." And he took pity on me and he said, "Okay, we need to get you a bike." And so I bought my first bike. It was a Mongoose hybrid, I think. It probably weighed 80 pounds. I mean, it was ridiculous. So I bought my first bike and we started cycling. And I think the next year or the year after that, I was working at a law firm and I was talking to one of the partners and he was talking about doing the Seagull Century.
Okay.
And this is a really problematic mentality that I have. But I was like, well, if he can do the Seagull Century, I can do the Seagull Century. Like, come on now.
Okay.
And so I signed up for the Seagull Century with my 80-pound mongoose and decided I was going to do it. I made it, I think, all of 60 miles before, because of course I didn't know what training was back then. I made it 60 miles before I tapped out, and then just went back to like putzing around on the long course cycling after that. But the time, I had a friend who actually trained with you. I think we've talked about this, who was doing a triathlon. And I reached out to her and I said, hey, tell me more about this triathlon experience that you had. And she told me about it. She recommended you as a coach. And then I sat on that information for 6 years. And 6 years later, I was like, oh, I should get into triathlon. I had a good friend who passed away and at a very young age. And that's one of those things that kind of make you question what you're doing and are you living your best life and what is it that you've wanted to do that you've always put off. And so I said, this is something I said I wanted to do 6 years ago. So let me stop procrastinating. I dug through my Facebook messages. I found your information and I went to your website and I know to this day we've joked about this. I just signed up. And I know for you, that's not normal for people to just randomly sign up cold for triathlon and not like skip the swimming and all of that. But yeah, so the endurance cycling, long course cycling got me motivated. And then, I was like, if she could do a triathlon, I could do a triathlon. And so
I'm picking up on the theme here.
Listen, it's such a bad habit, but I still do it. It's still a bad habit, but I can't help myself. And it has gotten me into more trouble than I care to acknowledge. When I tapped out of my first Seagull at 60 miles, we cut the course. Like we biked out 20 some miles. And then I was like, oh no, we need to turn around. Turned around and started biking back. I think I stopped every 5 minutes for the last 3 miles of that ride because I didn't think I could make it. And if I had found a SAG at the time, I would have had them come and take me home because I was not going to make it. I've since learned that training is important. So that's
okay. Yeah. that was one of the things I was going to ask you. It's like from the first one on the first date, for some reason, it was like, hey, let's do 12 miles, not like let's just do a couple loops or something like that. And then not like, okay, let me, ride something. It's like, nope, I'm going to just go all in for a 100-mile bike ride. And, as you mentioned, you left out one part when you said you were going to do your triathlon. You didn't say, hey, I'm going to just start off with a sprint. You had a different plan off on day one.
Well, originally my goal for my first triathlon was to do a 70.3. And I had taken, so again, going back to cold signing up for On Point Fitness, you have this requirement for people who don't take swim courses with you that you have to be able to swim a certain amount, continuously without stopping. And so I was like, I don't think I can swim 200 meters without stopping. And I don't think I realized that you offered swimming. So I signed up for another swim class. And one of the coaches there was like, well, if you've biked 100 miles before and you can run, you should definitely be doing an Ironman instead of a 70.3. And I was like, okay. And so I don't know that you know this. I signed up for Ironman Texas and the Miami 70.3 before I started training with On Point Fitness. And so then when I started training with you, I was like, oh, I should probably tell him what my goals are. And then I got scared. So, I appreciate that other people have faith in me and that I have faith in myself. Now I know, I'm not even going to lie and say that I've learned my lesson.
Thank you. we're trying to provide honest content of different stages that people are in. So, wherever they are, they know there's someone else out there who does something similar.
Yes. I at least now appreciate training. And that's what I didn't know when I first started signing up for stuff. I knew that I needed some guidance. I knew that, I couldn't go out and just do a triathlon without someone explaining some stuff to me. But I don't know that I fully appreciated all the training. I know that I didn't fully appreciate all the training that went into it. And now, even though I still sign up for stuff without asking enough questions, I appreciate that there's training involved, even if I don't fully grasp the amount of training. But when I first started, I was like, I'm gonna sign up for this, right? Like I just do it.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, yeah, that's a lot of training. So
so let me clarify. So what Candace is leaving out is when she first started to train, she came in and was like, yeah, I've never done a try, but I've signed up for an Ironman, and it's a year from now. So clearly we had to have a long conversation of, what that would look like going from never doing a triathlon before, not knowing what transition 1, transition 2, those kind of things were, to like, yep, I'm just gonna jump in and do the big one. But as she noted, you already had a couple century bike rides under your belt and those kind of things. So
and I had a century on an 80-pound. I had 60 miles on an 80-pound hybrid, and then I did my first full century on a hybrid. So I mean, this is like the equivalent of 200 miles. So
no, I'm not discounting the achievement. I'm just putting it out there so that the next person who hears it doesn't think that you just rolled off the couch one day and just said, I'm gonna do an Ironman in a year. But it was like, hey, I've got some sort of history there, even though it's not the complete picture. It was something there as a foundation, so that even though it was a big ask, it was still within the realm of you could probably still pull it off.
And I think that's the only reason you didn't kick me off the team right then and there, is because I at least had a basis for thinking that I could possibly do it. And just 355 days after my first training session with you, I did my first Ironman. So
congratulations. I remember being there for that first one. I had to see it for myself. I was like, I'm not going to send you off without bearing witness to make sure you don't pick up any bad advice at the race. So going back into that first year of you getting ready for your triathlon as an athlete, what kind of things did you learn as someone just getting into it, trying to take in all that information that a new athlete might benefit from?
So I think the biggest thing for me was this idea of trusting your training. And I know this is something that you and I have talked about. When you're standing at the entrance to a swim at a triathlon, you don't want to have this thought in your head that's, oh my goodness, I don't know if I can do this. You want to have this thought in your head that everything that I've done up until this moment has prepared me for this moment. And you want to know that you had a training plan, and there might be a few sessions that you missed here and there, but you are committed to your training plan, that you can swim the distance. You can probably swim a little bit longer than the distance. You can bike the distance. You can probably bike a little longer than the distance. But in that moment, you want to be able to say, I trust my training. I trust my coach, that my coach has prepared me for this moment. And I trust my ability to get through this. And there's something about being able to say that to yourself that's for me as an athlete, is one of the most comforting moments ever. And for a long time, and even now, I like my swim mantra. I always, start with, I can do this. Like, I trust my training. I can do this. Because, even, and I feel very comfortable in the water, but, there's still something about getting in the water with, 2,000 of your closest friends and cousins that, can be a little disorienting from time to time. But when you get in the water and it's like, I know how to swim. Like, I actually know how to swim. Like, I'm not making this up. Like, I know how to swim. I've done this before, and I'm going to be okay. I trust my training. So that I learned that going into my first triathlon. Like, I might freak out a little bit here and there, but no, I can actually do this. This is a funny little side story. The other thing that I learned my very first race is no new equipment. And Lloyd knows this story, but because he was there and he witnessed it, I think he still has some memorabilia from this moment. But a good friend of mine was doing the event, had not trained properly, and insisted. I mean, it was like 80 degrees that day, and the water was barely at the wetsuit legal range. And so he decides he's going to wear a wetsuit to get through the swim. And this was an Olympic distance race. He literally like took the wetsuit out the bag and put it on that day. Lloyd ripped the tag off, like the price tag off of the wetsuit. I think he still has it. And, you know, we start the swim. I finish the swim. I come out of the water and there's my friend standing there fully dressed and clothed. And I'm kind of looking at him a little sideways like, oh, okay. And talking to him afterwards, he was like, yeah, my wetsuit was too tight. You know, I already wasn't really confident about the swim, but my wetsuit was too tight. And, you know, they were like, I could get in the boat and take it off, but I didn't think I could do the swim without the wetsuit. So he swam to the corner of the lake, got out the lake in the corner, ran to his car, put on real clothes, and then came back and turned in his ankle tracker to the people at the race, like, yeah, I've decided not to do this race. And they are just like, oh. So it was one of the you know, very apparent, you got to make sure that all your stuff works before you get out there. So those are two very important lessons that I learned my first race of my first season.
Yeah, I remember that one vivid. I mean, I just had to take it all in. I was just kind of speechless in the moment as it all unfolded.
There's nothing like seeing someone go in the water and then all of a sudden, like 15 minutes later, they're walking up behind you like, hey, man, how you doing?
Yeah, that was surreal. That was surreal. Now talking about wetsuits, I can't remember what year it was, but I know at one of your Ironman races, there was a situation involving you and your wetsuit. So if you could kind of set the stage for me and tell me a little bit about your wetsuit encounter at one of your triathlon races.
So I'm pretty sure this was my second year of racing, my second Ironman Mont Tremblant, which is outrageously hilly. I think there's about 5,800 feet of climbing on the bike. But, you know, up at a ski resort in right outside of Montreal, beautiful race location. Lloyd, you were there racing. I think Ian from the team was also racing. Sean Chevalier. I mean, it was a good group of people racing that day. And wetsuit race, get in the water. And, you know, I tested my wetsuit out the day before. Everything was fine. You know, feeling comfortable. I was killing my swims that whole training season. You know, we were joking before the race started, like this was going to be my fastest swim ever. And within the first maybe 50 meters of the swim, something wasn't right. You know, the water was cold. I was having a really hard time breathing. I was coughing, and I couldn't get it together. I swam to a kayaker, a person on a surfboard, and you know, and they're like, well, you know, are you okay? And are you this and are you that? And in my mind, I'm like, well, I know how to swim. I'm fine. Something like, you know, they're talking to me like I'm just having a swim moment, which is perfectly fine. I just wasn't having, you know, like I'm scared swim moment. I was just like, something's a little off here. And so I leave the surfboard. I start swimming some more. And I'm just like, this is, you know, I've unzipped the wetsuit. I'm trying to, you know, get my life together. And I just can't pull it together. So I swim over to a kayaker. And this is an embellishment because I'm pretty sure this didn't happen. And I think he was speaking French because we're in Montreal. And he looked at me in my mind and said, no, this is not what happened yet. So I'm talking to the kayaker. A boat comes by and the boat is trying to get me to get in the boat. And okay. I don't know this for a fact, but I'm pretty sure if you get in a boat, your race day is over.
That's a fact.
Yeah. And so I'm like, oh, no, I'm not getting in the boat. Like, we're going to work this out. But and they're just like, no, get in the boat. And they're lying to me. They're like, no, just get in the boat for a second. You know, we don't think you look good, but just get in the boat for a minute and we'll take a look at you and we'll figure it out. And I was like, no, I'm gonna sit in this water and you can figure it out. So the kayaker looks at me and in French, he says, baby, what would you like to do? In my mind, he says that to me in my mind. And
that was your interpretation of
that's what I heard.
That's what you heard.
That's what I heard.
You.
And I said to him, I said, you know what? I would really like to take this wetsuit off. And he said, okay, let's do that. And so I am in the water in Montreal, 150 meters into the swim with my leg up on a kayak trying to pull a wetsuit off. And this is one of those moments for people who don't know triathlon. If you ever wonder, do we have clothes on underneath the wetsuit? You should have clothes on underneath the wetsuit. You should have your track kit on. But I'm there and he's pulling my arms out, whatever. I gifted my wetsuit to very nice gentlemen in the water in Montreal. And then I finished the swim. Now, the important part here is, one, you can't panic in these moments. Like, I'm like, something is off and something, but I know how to swim. I'm not worried in that moment about, I know how to swim. I know how to tread water. I'm holding on to the boat and like trying to figure out what's the best way to proceed. But then I also had to do this swim in cold water because like clearly we're all wearing wetsuits and I'm out there in not a wetsuit in my tri kit. So the Montreal swim is like a rectangle. It's 13 buoys out, I think 3 buoys across and then 13 buoys back. Water crystal clear because it's up at a ski resort. The 13 buoys out was perfectly fine. I cut across. Coming back, a storm set in. And yes, Vaughn, stay out the boat. Coming back, a storm sets in and the water starts getting choppy. Like people are holding on. And I don't know if you were in the water for any of this, Lloyd, but people are holding on to the buoys, like having seasickness issues because the water is so choppy. And I'm just there bobbing up and down with no wetsuit, like, this water is kind of cold. And so I get out of the water. This swim, I've not come that close to the swim cutoff, but I have completely blown past the amazing swim that I was supposed to have. I'm running out of the water and people are looking at me like, oh, she's such a badass because I have done this swim with no wetsuit unintentionally. And then it starts to rain. And there's this Alicia Keys song from years ago. And like, there's a line like, he broke my heart and now it's raining just to rub it in. And that's how I felt about this swim. Like the swim has broken my heart and now it's raining just to rub it in. And I biked 100 miles of a 112-mile bike ride in the pouring rain. And I've never hated the bike portion of any ride, I don't think, as much as I hated the bike portion of that ride. But then I had an amazing run. But yeah, that's one of my more notorious stories.
Yeah, because I remember that day, and it was cold. I mean, that water was really, really cold. And then when we saw you later on, it was like, wait a minute, you started the race with a wetsuit, you didn't get disqualified, and you ended the race without a wetsuit. And in the moment, none of us could really comprehend what happened because it was like, for those who are, new to try, it is a feat to be able to take off your wetsuit in transition. I mean, most people struggle to even get their wetsuit off when they come out of transition. So much so that they have a group of volunteers that are stationed in T1 who assist you in getting your wetsuit off. All right. It's a whole team, called wetsuit removers, strippers, whatever you want to call them, who help you take it off because it's so hard for you to take off by yourself on dry land. So the fact that you were, out in the middle of the swim and you figured out how to take it off. I could never figure that out.
I don't recommend it. First and foremost, I don't try this at home, kids.
No.
But
did you ever get your wetsuit back?
No, it is. I hope my kayak bay, I hope he's got it framed in his house or something. I hope he remembers that story like I remember that story.
I mean, I would love to hear, his version of the French interpretation because I can only imagine, what he was saying was actually, you probably want to get out, make sure you're okay, and just to see a swimmer starting to take her wetsuit off.
He was like, "What
in
is
the
she
middle of the
doing?"
swim and not climbing out to get DQ'd, but just, figuring out how to pull it off. I can't even imagine what was going through his head or your head when you're trying to pull that off.
Well, I was thinking at the time, I know that there is like this whole death before DNF group of people, but like DNFs happen. Like there are races that you don't finish for a host of reasons.
Been there, done that.
Yeah. And, so all I was thinking in that moment though was like, this is not going to be my DNF. Like, it's not going to be this race. Like, I'm sure there, and it did, like that I will have a situation, but it ain't this. Like I've trained too hard for this moment. I felt prepared for the moment. So I was like, no, we're going to get through this, whatever it is that by hook or crook is the old people say, like, we're going to make this happen. So I felt pretty good about that.
Good. Well, yeah, that one was good. And I remember the bike course was hilly and it rained and the crazy weather, but you did pull off another strong finish when that one wrapped up.
Yes.
Now, outside of the long course stuff, I know that you've had a couple shorter. Well, I wasn't sure if they call them shorter because the cumulative distance still equals something big. But I know a couple seasons in, you started to do these multiple races back to back. I think one was called the triple T.
Triple T. Mm-hmm.
Can you just kind of explain what that is and how you went from one try isn't enough, let me go ahead and double down on this? So
again, as we've established in the beginning, I have this problem where someone describes something and I'm like, oh yeah, I could absolutely do that. So my third Ironman was Ironman Maryland. And before I went on a ride, I think the day before, 2 days before the race, with some group that, we were just kind of riding around just to see a little bit of the bike course. And one of the guys there was talking about the Triple T. And of course I'm like, well, if he can do it, I can do it. So it literally happened like that. He was talking about
that statement again.
I know.
You see someone and it's like, if they can, then I can. Is that kind of like your go-to mantra?
Well, this stuff. So for all my fellow triathletes out there and endurance crazies, a lot of this stuff is about challenging yourself. For some of us, we're not winning events. Like I've not won a triathlon. I want to race, but I'm always like, how am I going to push myself this year or this season? Like, what's my goal, for the season? And like, how can I do something that I've never done before?
Okay.
And so that's important in terms of the, because I know you and I know in 2019, I think you did 3 Ironman races in 3 different countries in a month or something crazy like that. I think I got that right. So at a certain point, you've been there, you've done that.
Don't get sidetracked here.
Right.
We're discussing your choices.
At a certain point, when you've done so many, 140.6s, you're trying to think like, what do I want to do to challenge myself? And so am I picking a course that has a hard swim or a hard bike or temperature is an issue or, whatever. So when I heard about the 4 triathlons in 3 days, I'm like, well, it can't be that bad,
4 in 3 days. Okay.
4 in 3 days. And so there are 2 distances. Now I will say this, probably not my smartest move. 2 distances. There's the long course and a shorter course. Both races start with a super sprint. The short course is a super sprint, 2 sprints, day 2, almost back to back. You have like an hour or 2 in between, and then an Olympic on day 3. The longer course is a super sprint, 2 Olympics, day 2, back to back, and then a 70.3 on day 3. The twist is you're in Ohio in the middle of nowhere, and all of these courses are outrageously hilly. So you're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of 2,000 to 3,000 feet of climbing per Olympic distance race, somewhere close to 2,000 for each sprint race. The location that they had the event in 2019, I think, had over 5,000 feet of climbing on the half. So it's absurd. And then the run is hilly. And so, you know, I have a group of enablers, one of whom, Christy Fenner, will be on your show next week. And then another former teammate, Mila Garlington, who, you know, does things like bike across the country. And so it's hard in our group to have a voice of reason. But you need friends like that. So it's like, well, how are we going to challenge ourselves this year? And so, you know, in 2018, I think we did our first Triple T. And yeah, we did 4 triathlons in 3 days, and it was challenging, but we did it.
Okay.
Yeah, we did it. I would recommend it to anyone who's trying to do a little, you know, something a little different, thinking outside the box. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. You build a lot of camaraderie with your fellow racers. You know, I always support diversity in triathlon. And so there aren't a lot of women or people of color. So, you know, the more women and people of color we can get there, you know, the better. But yeah, it's, I know what it feels like. And Lloyd, I know you know what it feels like to wake up the day after a race and be really, really glad that all you have is like a 10-minute shakeout run to make sure your legs work. Mm-hmm. However, to wake up the day after an event and be like, oh my goodness, I have to race again, or to finish a race and think, oh my goodness, I have to race again in 2 hours, is a different type of mental challenge. So, you know, it's all about figuring out how to challenge yourself. And at this point, having done, I'm not at the 25-time Ironman level, but, you know, having done 5, it's like, all right, what else is there to kind of shake this up and you know, sprinkle something a little different in here. So
it sounds also like, as a part of pushing yourself and figuring out what you want to do, you've created a support system or a network that kind of either makes it more fun or just some accountability. Now, you know, how does that work out? If someone's looking for, you know, a group, do you recommend doing it on your own, or, you know, how does working out with, you know, some friends or in that kind of environment help with, you know, doing all of these kind of things that you're doing now?
So I think accountability is important. You know, first we have to let go of this illusion that we're always going to be motivated. We're not always going to be motivated. Those of us who train regularly and exercise regularly, we are probably motivated 25% of the time. The other 75% of the time is a mix of discipline and accountability. So discipline in the sense that, again, when I go to a race, when I hit the starting line, I want to feel as though I want to know that I am prepared for the event. And so when I'm training for an event, I am disciplined enough to get through my training schedule, because I know I don't want to feel when I get to the starting line like I'm not ready for this, because that's, you know, I don't think I've felt that, but that's not a good feeling. So you got to have some discipline. You got to have accountability, and that's either a personal trainer or a coach or a group of friends. And I tell people all the time, like, I hate getting up in the morning. The only way, I'm never going to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go for a run on my own. Like, that is, I will tell you, after, you know, X number of years in the sport, X number of years as a personal trainer, what is not going to happen is I'm not going to set my alarm for 5 o'clock because Candace is going for a run by herself. I will set my alarm for 5 o'clock if I'm going to meet my training partner and go for a run with her.
Okay.
And so I know this about myself. So you got to be clear about what motivates you, what keeps you disciplined. And you got to have a group with you that's committed to that. If you know, my training partner was always late or not showing up, it wouldn't work. And, you know, we had a funny little run meetup early in our training partner relationship where I think she was maybe 25 minutes late. And when she got there, but on the, I'm almost there. And 25 minutes later, I was like, listen, like, this is where you're honest. I'm running late. I'll be there in 25 minutes. Start without me.
Okay.
And don't let it happen again. And so in our, I think 4 years of training together, there's always a text like, I'll be 5 minutes late or I'll be 10 minutes late. And it's honest. And there's no, I overslept. I'm not going to make it. I'm not, so you have to have someone who's as committed to the process as you are if you're going to train with them. And then you have to be clear on what it is that you're doing. Are we meeting and starting together because we need the starting accountability and then we go off and do our own thing? Or are we gonna, train together today? Or maybe we train together once a week and then those other days a week we're checking in to make sure we're doing what we need to be doing. So you can kind of, mix it up, figure out what it is that you need. But I think the big part about discipline and accountability is making sure you're honest with yourself about how you operate.
Okay.
So that's why, again, I'm never getting up to run at 5 a.m. by myself. I will run at 9 a.m. by myself. I will run at 5 p.m. by myself, but I'm not getting up early for that. And I can schedule my training sessions like that because, I can schedule my training sessions accordingly because I'm honest with myself about how I train.
Okay. I like that. Honesty. Yep. You can lie to other people, but just never lie to yourself.
Exactly.
Now, before I get into my other area that I want to talk to you about, I know that you're also an athlete that has sponsors. So for those who are, there's some athletes who get sponsored or who are interested in getting sponsored by different companies. What does that look like? Who are you? Who is one of your sponsors? How would someone who's interested in a triathlete who's looking to be sponsored by a company, how would they go about doing that? What does that look like for them?
So, I think the big thing is, what do you use? What products, do you like? And so you looking at your nutrition, are you using Infinite or Scratch or Hammer products or, what Honey Stinger, what nutrition are you using? And then clothing wise, I have on my Zoot pullover because I am a member of Team Zoot. But, there's Zoot, there's Core, there's Betty, there's a whole host of clothing companies that clothe triathletes. So, the first thing is, what products do you like? What do you use? What do you, swear by? And then do they have some type of sponsorship, ambassadorship program? So, there are certain programs that are kind of on the elite end. And so they are working with professional triathletes or triathletes who are winning things and hitting the podium consistently during races. I am not one of those people. Yet. But then there are companies like Zoot, and they're looking at a broad range of athletes. And the reason for that is because it's wonderful if you're making the podium, but there are a lot of people who do triathlon, thousands of them who don't make the podium. And how do we inspire those individuals to come out and race all the time? And so when you look at these companies, do they check to see, do they have ambassador programs? Do they have sponsorship programs? What do they entail? And is it something that fits your lifestyle? So usually it requires you to race in their gear. You have to get their gear, have their gear to race in. A lot of us have social media presence and we, tweet and post on Instagram and whatever in term, to support the products that we use. There are also races that have ambassadors. And so I'm a Luray ambassador. Luray triathlon was the first triathlon that I ever did. I have done it now, I don't even know how many times. And and it's just a fabulous race. It's now a race weekend. There's a Saturday race and a Sunday race, and we've done that before. We bring a nice group of people down there. And so, if you have an event that you love and they have an ambassador program, they want your help promoting the event that you love and to get all your friends to come and make a weekend of it. So there are, I think a lot of this is or should be driven by what you use and what you like. Don't sign up for an ambassador program and you have no experience with their products, and then all of a sudden, somehow you get picked, and then you're like, oh my God, what is this? So try to make sure that it's something that you like, that you can swear by.
Okay.
And there are certain products that, so I love like Zelios. They make sunscreen and chamois cream. I don't even think they have ambassadors. I just love their stuff. They do partner with Team Zoo, and they partner with Fast Chicks. But sometimes if you like someone's product, and you want to talk about their product, they may see you, they may give you a discount, they may whatever. So just, to the extent that you love products and races, support the stuff that you like. They'll see it. They might even invite you to be a part of their whatever teams they have.
Okay, so start with what you use, what you like, and then you can probably reach out to those companies and get on their radar for whatever programs they have.
Yes.
Okay. Now, at some point after being an athlete, you transitioned and decided that, hey, I don't want to just do this for myself. I've got to now help other people. Being a personal trainer, what was that transition like, or what kind of sparked that shift?
I was so I had several friends who were personal trainers, and we used to train together. And so this maybe coincided. This might have been like the year before I got into triathlon, or the year I got into triathlon, and they were, just very much like, you should be a personal trainer. And I was like, yeah, it doesn't make sense. I got a day job. I'm not looking to do anything else. And a friend of mine pitched me on kind of a virtual style training, and it made sense. And so I started Pure Performance Fitness. And then I think, it's funny how life plays out. I thought I was going to be doing, virtual training. And then the first client that I got was an in-person client who was a triathlete who was looking to get stronger, to improve who was looking to lose some weight and then get stronger to improve her triathlon times. And so I just kind of slid into this role unintentionally of working with some triathletes. So yeah, it was not on purpose to be doing that. It just kind of happened. But I've worked with numerous athletes and triathletes over the years. I work with women who are trying to lose weight or get back into the sport, or I've also worked with several individuals who are trying to lose weight in anticipation of things like knee surgery and trying to deal with some health issues. So I think this is how life works. You think what you're doing, you think the path that you're on, and then all of a sudden you take this little side street, and it's like, oh, this is nice. Like, have no idea how I got here, but this is nice.
Now, we've several conversations, strength training and fitness outside of, swim, bike, and run, which is, my area of specialty. And I remember we were beta testing one of my upcoming virtual training camp, and we had a fitness section in there. And I in our beta test, I totally dropped the ball on the answer to some fitness questions, strength training wise, non-swim, bike, run. And, you stepped in and I was like, whoa. So I made some corrections. So as a triathlete, all right, let's say I'm a triathlete. What should I be doing from a strength training perspective to get better in swim, bike, run? What kind of things should I be looking into?
So first and foremost, as a triathlete, you should be doing core work. because everything that we do as triathletes, especially the swim, but also especially the bike and the run, everything involves our core. And so, Lloyd, I know you know this as a swim instructor. You see your client in the water, and you're supposed to have this nice, body position, and all of a sudden their feet are dragging, and they're just like, I don't understand why I'm going so slow. It is because they lack the core strength to keep their body, horizontal. And so that core strength, lets their legs drag, and now all of a sudden, instead of gliding through the water nice and smoothly, they're pulling their legs. And so core strength, super important. If you're on the bike and you're having low back pain, it's partly because you lack the core strength to keep your core in position when you're in air. And this, or you can tell this often when you see someone who's pedaling and their whole body is kind of going from side to side. They're lacking that core strength to keep their core locked in position. Similar with the run, you want your back nice and straight, and you might lean forward, but you see people who have their shoulders hunched over, and because they're lacking the core strength to keep their form proper. And so planks, bird dog, most anything involving Pilates. So we're not talking about, doing 150 crunches every day. We're talking about looking at actual, core strengthening exercises. Sometimes that don't, you can get to that don't even involve crunches. But everything that we do stems from our core. And so we want to make sure we have proper core strength, and it'll alleviate for a lot of us a lot of back pain that we experience, because our core will be able to do all the work instead of relying on our back, and our core will keep our form proper. So everyone all year round should be doing core work. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
In addition to that, then there's like the basics. So we swim. You have your swim position. We run, which impacts our shoulders. So, a lot of times we're thinking, oh, we need to be doing shoulder presses and bench presses and push-ups, and that's not really going to strengthen our shoulders. So we want, you want to look at some like rotator cuff strengthening exercises. So you get your little, 2-pound weight, and you're kind of doing this motion. You can, hold your elbow forward and have a weight and walk 20 steps forward, 20 steps back, just to help strengthen those muscles, which is different from like your pecs and your back, your upper back. We want to focus on our rotator cuff, focus on that interior shoulder strength. And then for legs, you're looking at leg curls. You can do squats. You can do abduction, adduction, things that are going to help your power when you're cycling. Some calf work that will help your power when you're running. But what you want to keep in mind as a triathlete doing strength training work, if you were just out lifting weights, you want to lift heavy, you're going to lift to exhaustion. But when you're a triathlete, you're trying to build muscle, but you're trying to build muscle that's going to last over time. And so you're looking at lower weights, higher reps. You're not trying to be that fatigued, and especially if you're in the middle of a triathlon season, what you're absolutely not going to want to do is lift super, super heavy any given day, because then you have to turn around the next day and do whatever workout is on your training schedule. And as someone who has done a heavy leg day and then turned around and tried to bike 80 miles, I don't recommend it. So you want to keep your strength training balanced. And so maybe you up it a little bit during the off season, but you're looking at 1, maybe 2 days of strength training during the week. You probably want to do 2 days of core work that can either correspond with those strength training days, or that can exist separately. There are certain bird dog yoga, bird dog plank, yoga Pilates style exercises you could probably even do on the side of the pool when you get out of, when you finish, or you probably do want to finish your swim workout. But these are things that you'll want to keep incorporated all year round, because it's not going to do you any good to work on your core for a month or 2 or 3, depending on how long your off season is, and then go into swimming and not work on it at all for the 8 or 9 months that you're, of your season. So these are things that can be incorporated regularly without wearing you out so much that you can't get through your training plan.
So it sounds like, so while I'm in my training season, I'll get 1 or 2 days of core work and strength training, but I'm not trying to get myself super fatigued with it. It's just supplemental. But in the whatever my off season is, that's when I would consider doing heavier type weights if I want to get stronger in that way, but not trying to do them in the same season.
Right. If you're, I mean, I know that there are some people who are, training all year round and they keep their triathlon volume up all year round. And I tip my hat to you, more power to you. If, and so those individuals will kind of want to stay consistent year round. But if you're in that group of people who I have my training season and then I drop down in volume in the off season, that'll give you more opportunity to increase your strength training and your core work. And I recommend that anyone who started with a weight training background and then got more into triathlon knows that unless you find some balance for weight training, your muscle mass is going to decrease. And that becomes important because, you don't have as many muscles, your power output is going to decrease. So if you want to keep your power up, you have to find a way to incorporate strength training into your training season and into your off season.
Okay. Now going from strength training, one of the topics that you and I have joked about and had fun with over all these years is nutrition. So I'm going to just open it up for you to just kind of, I know you're a nutrition coach as well. And you kind of help whether folks are doing endurance sports or just everyday weight loss type thing. So, kind of spell it a little bit from a nutrition point of view as an endurance athlete. What should I be looking for in my nutrition plan? How does it tie in with the strength training and the racing,
So at a most basic level, it's like, what you put in, what comes out. So if you're not eating great, you can't really have great expectations for your body and what it's going to do for you because you're not giving it what it needs in order to give you what you need. And I always, think this is a funny conversation for like, not kids, but like youth athletes, because they want to eat like McDonald's and, all the fun fast foods and, sugary cereal. And then they want to go and be, star athletes. And it's like, well, you gotta put, and so there are some people who are adults who still have that mentality. And so it's like, yeah, no, you can't really have this diet that doesn't maintain your lifestyle. So, you want to make sure you're eating high quality foods, and your protein and your vegetables. And I know vegetables are controversial for some people, but you want to make sure that you're getting proper whole foods. You shouldn't be, yes, there are volumes of training that we can hit where we'll need supplemental like protein shakes or recovery drinks and the likes. But for most people, for most training, especially if you're someone who eats meat, like you're going to get most of the protein that you need from the foods that you eat. So we want to trend away from trying to supplement our nutrition with shakes and gels and all that stuff. So I trend towards and I advocate that people try to get as many get as many nutrients as possible from whole foods instead of looking to supplements. For endurance athletes, it's really challenging because we're training at these high volumes and we're more likely to eat while we train. And then because we just biked 100 miles, we feel like we need pizza. And so we've been biking for 100 miles. We have our whatever drink is in our bottle, however many calories that has. And, if we have supplemental like Perpetuum or Carbo Pro or whatever that we've added to it to give us more carbs. And then we've got our gels, and then we've got our Cliff bars and granola bars and Patagonia bars and goos and, whatever blockers. And there's an outrageous amount, number of calories that you can consume while you bike. And so when we're calculating what we're consuming, we think, I biked for 100 miles and now I get to have pizza. And we forget that during those 100 miles that we biked, we consumed 4,000 calories of scratch, Carbo Pro, hammered. We blow right past that and we go straight to the pizza. And so, for a lot of people who've done Ironman races, they know like a lot of people will gain weight while they're training for a race. And it's mind-boggling, except until you realize, oh yeah, I was eating all of those calories while I was doing my training session. And then I ate all of those calories after I did my training session. And this is why it becomes important as you're training to keep track of what it is that you're eating and how it makes you feel. And, for our coaches, they know that nutrition is the fourth discipline. So it's swim, bike, run, and nutrition. Mm-hmm. And your nutrition or lack thereof is runs the risk of completely derailing your race day. I've been there. It is not pretty. So you want to make sure that you're actually being mindful of what you're consuming on your bikes and on your runs, how it makes you feel, and then what you're consuming afterwards. The other aspect of that is, and this is also really hard, especially for longer course, 70.3, 140.6 people, the taper. So you're training, 20 hours a week. You're going through all of this stuff to get ready for a race. And then, 3 weeks before the event, you cut down to 10 hours a week or whatever, but you're still eating like you're training 20 hours a week. Mm-hmm. And so, we know the people who go into race day like 5 to 7 pounds heavier than they were during the entirety of their training because they went into taper and they couldn't taper their food levels. And then that carries over for a lot of us after the race is over because we've been eating like maniacs. And now the race is over and we're still eating like maniacs. And so people think like, oh, I stopped going to the gym and so I gained weight. You didn't gain weight because you stopped going to the gym. You gained weight because you stopped going to the gym and continued to eat like you were going to the gym. And so it's, it's not a requirement. It should be a requirement. Like when we're going through the training process, when we're coming out of training, like it's so crucial that we're being mindful of what we're eating and how we're eating. And our bodies have adjusted to eating crazy. And then we have to figure out how to pull that back a little bit. But it's hard to do if you're not in tune with the fact that, either you were eating crazy to begin with, or if you weren't doing a good job with the calories, with the calories burnt versus, calories to replace them in the first place. And so, I spent a lot of time working with athletes, pre-training to get them to be more mindful of what they're eating. So, in the course of a day, what are you consuming and why? And now, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, do you have a specific, for you as an athlete, do you have a specific nutrition plan that you follow?
So when I am not training for anything, I trend paleo and I like intermittent fasting. And
now can you break that down for us?
Sure.
What's paleo? What's intermittent fasting?
So paleo is it's the caveman diet. So there's no grains, no beans, no dairy. And general, very broad spectrum, generally speaking. And intermittent fasting is picking a certain portion of the day in which you're going to eat and a certain portion of the day in which you're going to fast. And so with intermittent fasting, especially, this is why I only do it when I'm not training for a race, because if I'm training for something, the likelihood that I have to get up to meet somebody at 5 o'clock in the morning is really high. So when I'm intermittent fasting, I usually eat between 1 o'clock in the afternoon and 10 o'clock at night. And that doesn't work when I have to train because I'm training early or I'm training late and I need more food. And the same with paleo, like I'll increase certain carbs when I'm training that I don't normally eat when I'm not training. That being said, I'll say this very, very broadly. Every diet works. Everything works. Keto works, paleo works, Atkins works, the grapefruit diet works, Weight Watchers works, everything, calorie counting, everything works.
Okay.
The issue is figuring out what works best for you and your lifestyle. And so if you're not the type of person who can track food, who can or is willing to track food, calorie counting might not be for you. If you're the type of person who loves cheese, paleo might not be for you. If you're the type of person who loves fruit, keto might not be for you. So it's figuring out based on your lifestyle and what you're willing to do and not willing to do, which nutrition plan is going to be most beneficial for you and is going to be, help you be most successful. So when I'm working with clients, a lot of people are just like, tell me what to eat. And that, in my opinion, that doesn't work. Why? Because what I think you should be eating might not be what you want to eat.
Okay.
And so if I, Lloyd, if I tell you, okay, I want you to eat X servings of fruits and vegetables per day and X servings of this, and you're like, well, I don't like fruits and vegetables, we're going to have a problem. Right. And you're either going to not follow the plan that I've given you, or you're going to follow it for X period of time. And then you're going to be like, I don't want to do this anymore. And so I think it helps to start with, I usually have most of my clients like start tracking what it is that you like to eat. And then I'm going to ask you some questions to work with you to get you to make better decisions about what it is that you're eating, right? Because what we want to keep in mind, especially for those of us as we get older, like we're not trying to diet. Like we're trying to figure out how we're going to eat for the next, 10 years or 15 years. And what's the plan that gets us through training and not training? It can't be, well, yeah, then I'm going to do Atkins for the next 2 years. And then I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do for the next 2 years after that. And then, that's like, how do we want to eat? Like, what do we want our lifestyle to be? Okay. Because nobody's really trying to diet at this point. Like,
so it's more lifestyle.
It's 100% lifestyle, because you want to figure out something that's sustainable and something that works for you. And it could just be, if I'm willing to track food, like I want to eat carbs, I'm willing to track my food. And I know when I exercise and I burn 1,000 calories, I'm going to eat back 600 of those calories. And this is the plan that I've accepted for myself. Cool. If you know that I'm not, going to eat cheese or bread or pasta, and if I cut those things out, and I only, I eat when I'm hungry and I have a snack plan that works for me, awesome. But it's figuring out what works best for you and what you have, what you have problems with. Like I love French fries. Okay. I love potatoes in general. Okay. I love potatoes in all forms, but I really, really, really love French fries. And so I don't have French fries in my house. Because if I had French fries in my house, I would make French fries every single day of the week until the French fries were gone. And then I would go buy more, and I might only eat a serving, but I'm going to eat them every single day. All right. I could fit that into my, caloric intake if I wanted to, but if I'm eating 500 calories worth of French fries a day, I'm not going to be able to eat other stuff that I need for my body to give me what I need, what I need it to do. And so you kind of have to think about food like that. Like I could eat French fries every single day. Would I be as good of an athlete as I am right now? Probably not, because I'd either be overeating to compensate for the fact that I got this many French fries for 500 calories, or I wouldn't be eating enough because I got this many French fries for 500 calories and I didn't eat anything else. So it's really trying to figure out how to make food work for us.
Okay, that makes sense. I know we've talked about it for years, and I will say I am doing better on my vegetables and veggie quota. Started to hear. Started to throw them in the blender to get them as a smoothie so that I can get them. So they are being consumed after years of you encouraging me to adjust my ways. I'm happy to hear that. It was a long process, but I'm sure it's not up to your standards for me, but it is moving in the right direction. Definitely.
It's better than it was. Better than it,
exactly.
not as good as it's going to be, but it's better than it was.
Yeah, I like that. I'll take that. I'll take that.
Okay.
So a couple of things before I end up letting you go. This year has been, last year has been crazy for everyone. Trying to get into endurance sports and managing life and things like that. So outside of, swim, bike, run, or personal training, what kind of hobbies or things, have you been doing to just kind of keep yourself grounded?
Yeah, it has been some craziness. I think, the biggest thing, and this is not a hobby, but the biggest thing that I think all of us should keep in mind right now is like, we just need to be kind to ourselves. Like, the world is crazy right now. There's so much stuff that we don't have control over. There's so much stuff happening. There's frustration over races. We're dealing with, family issues. Like, we have to be kind to ourselves and kind of listen to what it is that we need, right? And so sometimes we need to go for a run, and sometimes we need to sit on the couch and watch TV. And so it's recognizing what you need in certain moments and making sure that you're giving yourself, the space and the kindness to take that. My biggest thing, you saw him a moment ago. My biggest COVID time suck is my dog, who I got, I don't know, 6 or 7 months ago. And the benefit of having a dog now is he forces me outside every single day. But it's great because I need to get out. I need some air. I need to get moving. And so, spending 2 or 3 miles a day, just kind of walking around and being in the air has been absolutely wonderful. But I have a drum set. I'm learning how to play the drums.
Okay. Got a drum solo next time?
Maybe I can drop a little beat. So, I've spent some time doing that. I have been cycling, and I've been doing some cycling foolishness. I'm sure we told you that we were doing this, but, a couple of weeks ago we did a 24-hour time trial. Again, this wasn't even one of those, if so-and-so can do it, so can I. This was hey, we should do a 12-hour time trial. And I was like, oh, there's a 24-hour option. Let's do that instead. Why not? And probably not a proper amount of training. But, it's biking 200 plus miles in a 24-hour time period. I don't know yet if I recommend it. Give me like 6 more months to think about it.
I love how things go from let's ride to let's do 12 hours to the next person saying let's do 24.
I know. And so, it's really getting creative in terms of how we challenge ourselves. And so I did a run every day in December challenge. What I really need to do is a play the drums every day in March challenge. My drum instructor would probably love that. I'm not there yet, but I've been trying to figure out ways where, I haven't done any triathlons in the last, 15 months. Mm-hmm. And it can be hard to find the motivation to continue to bike, right? Like, there are races scheduled for 2021 and we don't know what they're going to look like. And now we're even starting to see things getting canceled. So it's, what can we do to keep ourselves motivated? And so sometimes that's, again, having other hobbies and activities like walking the dog and playing drums. And I'm taking a math class, which, again, do not recommend at all. At all. Like, take basket weaving, I don't recommend anything that involves actual academics. I don't recommend it.
Basket weaving is a great hobby. Take it from me.
Yes. I do know how to knit, but I haven't knit anything. I am working on a kitchen renovation.
Okay.
I'm not sure yet if I recommend anything like that either. And spring is on the horizon, so I'll be doing some gardening, as I know you will as well.
Yes.
But this is the most time I've ever spent in my house. And so I've been trying to enjoy my house, and sometimes I actually just go and sit in rooms in the house that I don't normally sit in, just because I'm like, I pay for this room, I might as well spend some time in it. I don't know if that's a hobby or not, but
well, it sounds like you've kind of like explored multiple parts of your brain and who you are. I mean, from a animal, gardening, drums, everything's on the table, where it's like, we're not limited to just trying to do one thing. It's, how many different ways can you, find some joy or something to just kind of pique that particular part of your brain that keeps you going.
And, it's interesting because, I was thinking about our conversation when I'm racing, when your athletes are racing, there's don't make any friends. Don't take any advice from anybody on the race course, because when you show up race day, you have what your coach has told you to do. You have what you've trained to do. And the biggest mistake you can make is listening to someone else, influence how you're going to do that. And then I think even training is hard, not, just not particularly nowadays, but in general, because we're on social media and, either you've hired a coach and you're encountering all of these people saying, oh, you should do this, you should do this. I'm doing this, I'm doing this. And so, as a trainer, and I'm sure for you as a coach, you get annoyed because it's just like, this is the plan I've given you based on the goals you told me and what I know about you. And now you're asking me about some plan that somebody who's done 10 Ironman is doing. And why aren't you doing what they're doing? Have you done 10 Ironman? So it can be hard, dealing with social media when it comes to racing and training. That being said, at this point in life, social media can kind of be good, because it's like, what are other people doing to help themselves cope through the pandemic? And then you get all sorts of fun ideas, like, let's run every day in December and call it, it's the Markathon, and how are we going to challenge ourselves in this way? So, I've really tried to look at what other people are doing to, get through right now. And is that something that I can realistically incorporate into my day? And is it going to challenge me? Is it going to, overwhelm me? And if it's just going to challenge me, let's give it a shot.
Yeah, I think it's like you said earlier, a lot of the things out there work. It's just a matter of picking what works well for you, and kind of nailing that down. So before I let you go, if people are trying to get in touch with you, where can they find you on, for your services and things like that?
So I think you've put my website in the chat, pureperformance.fit, www.pureperformance.fit. You can find me there. I am on Instagram, pureperformance.fit. You can find me on Facebook. We have a Pure Performance page on Facebook. I'm not on Twitter, just because I don't have time to tweet like that. But we're on Instagram, super active, Facebook, and our website. So we do virtual training, training plans, working with people trying to lose weight, trying to get stronger for certain events, trying to figure out how nutrition fits into all of that. And especially now, I think it's, a lot of my clients now and those who've started during the pandemic are just like, we're home, and it's hard to, again, it's hard to figure out a schedule. It's hard to figure out discipline when you don't have the structure that you used to have. And so having a trainer, somebody to work with and hold you accountable can be really helpful at a time like right now.
That is so true. So if you just let me know, I'd like to know we had an event that we were going to do together. We just got word that was canceled. What's the one thing you're looking forward to in 2021 when the world reopens?
Outside of like all of the big stuff, like seeing my family and going out to eat. I am looking forward to racing again. Like I'm, you know, we're looking at the Seattle to Portland ride coming up in July. You know, possibly, you know, doing an Ironman this year. I can't wait to get back to Luray. So, you know, just racing and, you know, showing up and standing at the swim start and having all the nerves that never, ever, you and I had this conversation, our last race, that never go away. It doesn't matter if it's your first race or your 21st race. Like, there are always those, you know, pre-race jitters. I'm looking forward to having that experience again. Just being like, ooh, we're really about to do something that, you know, we've never done before. So, and that's that. I mean, it's always a good feeling. It's scary, but it's exciting because it's like I'm about to challenge myself in a new way. I'm about to do something I've never done before. I'm about to, you know, hopefully accomplish a goal that I've set for myself. I'm looking forward to feeling that again.
I do too. I mean, it's been a big change. Everyone's been making lots of adjustments. So, you know, that's one thing I know a lot of people are looking forward to. So, well, Candice, thank you so much for taking the time to have a conversation with me today. It was a blast. Can't wait for us to get back out on the road and do some training. If anyone is looking for a personal trainer, they can find Candice at pureperformance.fit on her website. You can find her on Instagram as well. And we'll put her information out there so you guys can find and reach out if you need a personal trainer. She's the one who does a lot of training for all of our athletes, and, you know, can't say enough good things about her. So, Candice, thanks again.
Thanks for having me.
Have a great day. Thank you so much. Enjoy.
Thanks.
If you like the video, make sure you hit the like button, share, subscribe, and hit the notification button.